Here we go. Here we go, brownies. The kids cardiac, catch me in the Muni where the party at. Dog pound, turn up with the elf up on my starter cap. Brought him back, boy we from the land and we proud of that. Louder man, front to the back, here we go, I got him shouting that. Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Here we go, brownies. Here we go, brownies. Stand up. Here we go, brownies. Let's go. Game on the line, Joe Thomas, I promise. Jim Brown running through opponents, how I got this. I return like Josh Cripps, paying for the mini, got the dog pound jumping. Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Here we go, brownies. Here we go, brownies. Stand up. Here we go, brownies. Let's go.
Cleveland, this is for you.
Here we go, Brownies Nations. We are here at Lorello Vineyards in Geneva, Ohio with Larry Lorello, the owner and founder of the winery, talking about the sparkling wine.
Yeah, so we have 3 wines that are sparkling here at Lorello Vineyards. We've got our Mia, which is Chardonnay and Pinot Noir blend. It's a brut wine, so it's dry. We have the Loving Linda, which is a Pinot Noir Rosé. So same Pinot Noir that's in that, but got some skin color to it. So it's got some color, but it's also dry. And then the last is Dolce Ida, which is named after my mother, and it's Muscat and Riesling with a touch of sweetness. It's going to be a real crowd pleaser.
So here we go, Brownies. Make the drive out to Lorello Vineyards, less than an hour from downtown Cleveland. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Woof, woof.
Oh, I missed that.
I know that choosing a realtor is a big decision, especially in a market like Cleveland. Hi, I'm Crystal John Toney with eXp Realty, and I grew up right here. I know these neighborhoods, the values, and where the real opportunities are. Whether you're buying your first home, upgrading, or investing, I'm here to guide you every step of the way and make sure that you don't leave money on the table. Let's make your next move a smart one.
All right, welcome in everybody to another episode of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. I'm Allie Ellery here in Pensacola, Florida. Joined with me, as always, we've got Dr. David Ellery, the husband of the program, also in Pensacola, Florida. Also in the house I'm in.
Oh my gosh, imagine that.
Exactly. This is fun.
This is a lot of fun. I'm excited. It's gonna be a good night.
So, of course, you are noticing that we don't have Dustin tonight. He is in California, so he will not be joining us tonight. So David is stepping in, and we are going to recap the entire 2026 NFL draft. Of course, we're going to do a deep dive on the Browns. That's what this is a Browns podcast. We're going to get into it. We're going to save that here for just a little bit. I want to start by the relevant news, David. That is kind of what's been going around Twitter today. Mary Kay Cabot put it out. You can believe it if you want to. I'm kind of refusing to do so, but that is that Deshaun Watson is currently basically in the lead for the quarterback 1 position. Of course, we know that a lot can happen between now and the start of the season. Training camp hasn't even happened, but as it currently stands right here, right now, looks like he's the leader in that clubhouse. Todd Monken was pretty open previously in his press availability saying that he wants to identify a starter. Not going to pull the Kevin Stefanski thing and say, oh, we're going to give everybody equal reps. We'll see what happens. I think it's best for the team to identify a starter. And of course, that is fluid. That can change. But Mary Kay is reporting that right now it's Deshaun Watson. I don't want to believe it. I'm sure a lot of you don't want to believe it. But it's not super surprising. But I don't know. David, your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth because on one hand, I am surprised just because I think that's more a personal bias, just from the fact that we don't want that. I think we can all agree here pretty well that, like, well, yes, we want the best players on the field. We want the best opportunity to win. But I mean, we've lived through the last 3 seasons now and have experienced it, and just all the drama surrounding it and the controversy, and just it's one of those things where it just does not feel like it brings a positive energy or vibe to the locker room and to the team. And so on the other hand, I'm not surprised because there were rumors all along of this being the plan, of this being, Jimmy's guy, of this being, they're not going to give up on him. They're not going to dump the contracts. They're not going to just eat the money, and they're going to give him a fighting chance just like they would with anybody else. And clearly that is what is happening. we've always said it. We don't ever root for someone to get hurt. We don't cheer for injuries. We don't want that for anybody, because at the end of the day, like, he's still a human. We're all still humans. Humans make mistakes. Humans do things. But it is, when we talked about it in January and February, having his Achilles surgery and then a second one very shortly after, we knew that the odds or the opportunity for him to return to starting weren't going to be as great as if it were just like a single injury. But clearly he did. He worked hard at it. He dedicated to his rehab, and we've seen the videos all around leading up to this. And it's just, I don't want to say that it already after the draft, on the excitement from the draft, that it puts a damper on the upcoming season. But you can't help but feel like there's a little bit of a cloud that's going to start hanging over if this continues in this direction. And 6 weeks from now for the summer, he's named QB1 on the depth chart.
So a couple of things. One is, I don't think it's surprising from an investment standpoint, right? You got Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round, does not cost this organization a lot of money. Obviously, we know what they invested in Deshaun Watson, $230 million guaranteed, plus several first-round, 3 to be specific, first-round picks to the Houston Texans. So huge investment made in Deshaun Watson. So I guess from that perspective, it's not super surprising that that's who they would prefer to be the starter. Obviously, if you can get more out of Shedeur, that makes us fans feel a little bit better too. But let me ask you this. Do you think that there's any, could there just be any smoke here, right? Like that the Browns want this to get out, that they're really kind of in on Watson. Maybe that means that they'll look to move him, or, just building smoke, or maybe some kind of distraction in any other capacity. I know that's crazy.
I know. And I mean, like, certainly that wouldn't be the first time it's happened, just with the Browns in terms of anything, whether it's draft rumors or this or that. But I mean, it also seems like Monken's kind of a no-nonsense guy. At the end of the day, like, he came into this organization and his job is to win. His job is to build a winning program. And he knows what kind of quarterback he likes. And that's much more Deshaun than it is Shedeur in terms of just his offensive style, his offensive scheme, and what he wants his quarterback to be capable of doing. It's why we'll get into it. They, pick someone like Taylor Green too. And so as much as like that would be awesome if it was just smoke, oh, Deshaun's back, he's going to be QB1 level quarterback for 20 teams in the league, so they can just trade him. I don't know. That doesn't feel like Todd Monken to me. I don't know that well, but yes, that would be great.
Don't kill my dreams, David. Before we move on to the draft, hi, Aaron. Thank you for joining us. We're really happy to have you. Hope everything's going well, but let's get into the draft. Let's talk about something fun. Nobody else? Yeah, you go ahead.
Sorry. We'll give some time to the medical moment here because Deshaun kind of does that. And there's a little bit of an update on some players. So let me just jump into that real quick. I know we didn't prep for that, but so kind of some updates. DeJuan Jones, he has been participating in voluntary camp after having his knee injury last year. So he has returned to practice. Encouraging. Not encouraging that, he's missed or ended 3 straight seasons with a leg injury, but it is encouraging that he is practicing. He's in minicamp, and if nothing else, just looking to provide that depth for the offensive line. We know that there's some moves and kind of some hopes in terms of what the future is going to hold, but we know when he's healthy, he can play, and he's a good player. So always encouraging to see that, and hopefully he can actually play a full season this year. Quinshon, he's been working with trainers still, but it appears he is fit and strong following his ankle fracture surgery. And what was that?
I just said love it.
Sorry. Yep. And then we know JOK not practicing, unlikely to ever return, unfortunately. And then kind of one note with Malik Collins, expected to be part of the rotation if he can return to full strength and health. So the 2 big ones obviously are Quinshon and DeJuan. DeJuan's practicing and Quinshon is looking strong and healthy, and he's going to be ready for week 1. So just encouraging things on the injury front from the offseason stuff. But yeah, let's get to it now. Let's jump into the draft, because that was, as we all know, Allie's favorite weekend of the year.
It's my favorite. I absolutely love it. But you know what else I love? Just real quick, I love the Cavs. Let them know, Jason. Drinking to that.
Let them know.
All right, let's get into the draft. So before we do kind of a deep analysis on what the Browns did, we're going to give you some superlatives. We are going to talk about every single draft pick, what we think about that player, where they're from, the production at their program, and how we think they can integrate into what the Browns want to do, whether that's offense, defense, or special teams. So we're going to do that. But before we do that, we want to talk about the NFL draft as a whole. There was a lot of surprises, some things that some things that took place that I don't think anybody expected. So let's just go high level, NFL focused, NFL draft, quick discussion. First off, David, what were some of your takeaways from this draft? What did you think?
So I know going into it, and certain people you listen to, maybe not the super prepared, would talk about how they weren't excited about the draft. They thought it was a boring draft, mostly because there weren't a ton of quarterbacks coming around. Depth wasn't there at certain positions. But I mean, we dug in, we went all in. We spent so much time preparing for it, listening to our favorite Todd, but also just anything that we could consume, we did. And it's just, I don't know, for all of NFL fans, even college football fans, I think to get really a lot of enjoyment out of the draft, prepare for it. And it makes it so much better because you can, you learn about these players and you get attachments to certain players and you cheer for them and you want to see where they're going to go and how they're going to fit. And so, I mean, from my perspective and my standpoint, I loved it. I thought it was a very entertaining draft. It was exciting. There were surprises. There were some not surprises. But overall, I'm very excited to see where all these players end up with their careers, top to bottom. And it gets me excited for the football season. And I think it was a great draft. And next year's draft is going to be so different from this year's draft because it's going to be the quarterback draft. Everyone talks about it. And, people even talked about this one a little bit going into the year, but then as the season progressed, we see how the quarterback class just disintegrated in front of our eyes. I mean, one, Dante Moore deciding to return to Oregon kind of changed things dramatically. But then when you see, Cade Klubnik, Drew Aller, Garrett Nussmeier, all these guys, their seasons just folding in front of us, it really changed the tenor of the draft, but made it that much more interesting because it was like, well, where are these guys going to go? And then who's going to get drafted in their place? So I loved it. I thought it was really exciting. I know that you really liked it too, but what are your kind of immediate takeaways from it?
So can I make fun of you real quick for a little bit?
Yeah.
I just want to highlight what all of I don't remember Dustin's, so you'll have to forgive me. He's not here to defend himself, but you and I, our kind of bold predictions for what was going to happen. And David said that he predicted 3 quarterbacks to go in the first round: Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson, and Garrett Nussmeier, who did get drafted, but not until late day 3. Goes to the Chiefs. But mine was, I think I said, over 6 offensive linemen taken. Now, David, we actually put money on that, and we had plus odds.
It wasn't 6 though; it was 8.5.
We had, our line here in Florida was 8.5, and it hit. So that was a nice little treat for us. But
was it right at 9? I think it was right at 9.
I think it was right at 9. Yeah, I think so. But I thought it was interesting. I love the NFL draft, regardless of whether or not it's a boring or exciting draft in the eyes of most people. I have so much fun doing it because we spend so much time on it. And Todd McShay said this: it is kind of like the best reality TV out there. There's so many storylines, so many insane draft day things that happen. Families are doing something weird. A dog's doing something weird in a video. I love it. It is my favorite. But to kind of recap some of my things that made me go, oh, that's interesting. I did not have Ty Simpson going that early, David. We were both surprised by that. I know that day of, there was a lot of speculation that it could happen. I just didn't think he would be a top 15 pick. Now, I am still kind of confused on what the Rams are doing. They're obviously identifying that this is the year. They're going all in to go win the damn thing. But the player you took in the first round is more likely than not going to be playing in any of those games, which is a perfect situation. The best time to take a quarterback is obviously when you don't need one. Great situation for the player. I'm not discounting that at all. I didn't expect it. That was a moment where I was like, well, that makes things really interesting. What are you looking at?
I think I hear some thunder.
Another thing I really enjoyed was, and we'll talk about this here in a little bit. Everybody stay tuned. We've got a little Buckeye segment coming at the very end, but all of the Buckeyes that went, especially in the first part of the first round, I thought that was really exciting. I'll tell you this, I didn't have Carnell Tate going 4 overall to the Titans. Didn't expect that one. Not at all.
Love it though.
A couple of other things. I think I really enjoyed the run on offensive linemen. We kind of predicted that. And I think, as you can see, everybody, it did a lot of good things for the Browns. It pushed some premium positions down, right? We're going to talk about that. They got 2 receivers back to back, 2 first-round receivers, essentially. which they loaded up. And let's just get right into what the Browns did, David. I think Andrew Berry, he was not joking. He said he is going to address the offense. And that is exactly what he did. Took 2 tight ends, absolutely restructured this offensive line, took 2 receivers, took a quarterback. This is, you pulled up the depth chart earlier. It is vastly different than where we were just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's incredible just to see the changes on the offensive line. I mean, we had 4 familiar names from left guard all the way down to right tackle across the board, and now not one of those names remains. But I'm not that upset about it. Obviously, we know that there's some, there was a lot of history there, but a lot of health problems too. And so seeing the turnovers, seeing what's going to come of like these new players and the what the plan or the design, the scheme, the vision that Todd Monken has. It's great. It's great. And I love that they did what they said they were going to do. They attacked offense. They hit their positions of need for the most part. I'd say especially the weakest positions at wide receiver in line. And they doubled or tripled down at those. And that's what you want to see. That's what you want to see as a fan of an organization, as a team, that you're addressing the positions of need, not only from a just like as a depth standpoint, but also like a stability standpoint. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later once we get into kind of the injury aspect of the draft or the injury history of the draft. But like, I think Todd has a very practical approach to who he drafts and how he drafts. And honestly, it's exciting and it's refreshing. And it's just, I'll get into it more once we get to that point. But I love what we did. And it's pretty clear across the board that the nation does too. I mean, you've seen it. How many people have ranked the Browns draft as, top 1, top 3 draft classes out of the entire NFL. It's
Let me ask you, let's do that real quick. Let's kind of recap the NFL draft. Who did you have out of all of the teams, all 32 teams? Who do you think had the best draft on paper? Now, I mean, obviously, anything can, this is on paper, right? We know it's not in practice, but just from the draft alone, who made their team a lot better?
So, I mean, and we've talked about it kind of ad nauseum, and I think, I agree. And this isn't just a bias. I think the Browns really were the most effective. I'd say they were the most efficient and effective at doing what they set out to do. But just for podcasting's sake, one team that the more I look at it, the more I like it. It's Tennessee. I actually, like you said, we didn't expect Carnell Tate going forward. We thought with, Robert Saleh being, the head coach there, that he would go defensive minded. But at the end of the day, they know that they have the number 1 overall pick, Cam Ward, last season, and they need to get that guy some weapons. They need to kind of increase what he can distribute the ball to. And Carnell Tate's going to do that. I mean, Carnell Tate is an instant day 1 starter who is reliable, catches things, contested catches, route running is impeccable. So I love that. And I think that they really made an impact directly on the offense for Cam. And then they still did a good job of addressing the trenches. I think, it's a common theme. If you look at the best draft classes, it's always, there is some level of addressing the offensive and defensive line. You just have to. It's fundamental. You win in the trenches. And so, they got Fernando Carmona, a guard out of Arkansas, which I don't know a ton about, but they took him. They took Jackie Marshall, defensive lineman out of Baylor. And really the one I think is probably going to be a better pick than maybe he came out as Pat Coogan out of Indiana. And this man has he played in back-to-back national championship games, transferring from Notre Dame as a starter and captain, going to Indiana, and then winning the national championship. And
you were surprised by that when it happened.
It's amazing. And going in the state, not really a rival, but going across the state. And so there's a lot of people who talk about him as just like the team leader, kind of one of the core pieces of that Indiana team. And so whether he starts right away or is just a backup and a voice in the locker room, he's going to be such an important piece for this team moving forward. And like someone I think Cam Ward's going to be able to rely on for a long time. And then you look at just the rest of the pieces, Keldrick Falk at edge from Auburn, Anthony Hill Jr. at linebacker from Texas, Nicholas Singleton, running back from Penn State, and Jaron Kanek from Oklahoma. Those are all really good pieces. I think that they addressed what they needed. They got better in the trenches, but they also have some skill players that are going to really, I think, elevate this team. And I think Robert Saleh is getting, a second chance here at head coach, and he might actually like be on to something here. And I think it's a small market team, but like the Titans have had success recently, and they're a good organization. So I'm excited to see what this does for them.
Well, the pairing makes a lot of sense. I mean, Dable is your offensive coordinator. They are going to take a significant step up. And I wouldn't even be surprised if they were a wild card team, right? I think that that's absolutely a possibility. They definitely got better. I'm going to take kind of a homer pick here, guys, and I'm really not meaning to do that, but I think that the Browns just absolutely crushed it this draft. Obviously, from who they drafted perspective, but in order, what they did just from a value perspective, I think is so interesting. Andrew Berry is so good at optimizing value, trading back. Of course, you didn't get another first next year, but you trade back from 6 to 9 with the Chiefs and get a couple of extra picks. Day 2, right? Do I have that right? Day 2. And just make the most of it, right? You obviously had 2 first-round picks this year. Next year, you get an additional 4th from another trade that was made. Guys, I just really liked that value. And you got the players that I think that they were going to take anyways. Whether it was at 6 or at 9, I think that the Browns were always going to be in on Spencer Fano. That was the guy. Sure, it would have been interesting maybe if Carnell Tate was there, but I think they identified basically how we put it. You take your tackle first, get your receivers later. If there's a run on offensive linemen, those receivers are going to be there. So I just absolutely appreciate what the Browns did. They got better drastically and kind of in a hurry. And whether it's Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, or it's Taylon Green at quarterback, or it's David Ullery, who knows? They did everything that they could, I think, to put whoever that person is in the best position possible, in a much better situation than where they were last year. Just one, from a pass catching standpoint, they got significantly better in that regard. And from the offensive line, both huge areas of need. The defense is going to continue to do what they did. Offensive, love it. I'm just really pumped up for that. Let's talk about who you think, David, had the worst draft. We can kind of pace here a little bit, but worst draft, who you got?
So you already mentioned it. You already brought it up. It was the Rams for me. I don't quite follow what they're doing. I understand, Ty Simpson being the future and learning behind one of the all-time greats in Matt Stafford makes sense from a future standpoint, but taking him at 13 when I think you probably could have gotten him later. You could have traded that back, gotten, a later first round and a second, added to your stock and gotten him 25, 29. I don't love that move. And then beyond that, the guys that they took, I don't see any of these players as win now, add now, perform now. Like they added Max Clare, tight end from Ohio State, which great. He's a great wide receiver. He's a great weapon. They already have 17 tight ends. I don't know why they need to add another one. And then they added a tackle, a wide receiver, and defensive lineman, all kind of these late picks. And I get they didn't have a ton of picks to begin with. I mean, they've been a successful program and organization. They don't have a lot of draft stock to begin with. But I was not impressed with what they did. I didn't love taking Ty Simpson at 13. And whether you liked it or not, there's one guy out there, and we bring him up all the time. But McShay predicted this. He said if they say put at 13, they're taking Ty Simpson. They're not taking a wide receiver there. They're not doing this or that. But I don't think that is the right answer. And I don't know. I don't think they did anything to bolster their roster right now today. And I mean, maybe they didn't need to do much because a lot of people kind of thought they were the most talented team last season and they should have been the team in there, but the Seahawks just got the better of them. But I don't know. I didn't love it. I did not like what the Rams did.
For me, I did not like what Jacksonville did at all. Their first pick, because obviously they traded this year's first to Cleveland for Travis Hunter last year. Their first pick was in the second round, Nate Borkcher, the tight end at A&M. I hated this pick. It's not that I don't like the player. I just don't think he had a ton of production, and I think this was an incredible reach. I did not like their draft at all. Another one, honorable mention, was I did not like what the Vikings did. I understand that they wanted to bulk up the defense, but taking Caleb Banks that early in the first round was pretty shocking to me. Now, I know he's got a ton of high upside, but really kind of gave up a little bit last year, had a broken foot prior to the combine, had a great performance at the combine, so you hope that he can heal and get better, but I still just didn't love it. There was a couple of head scratchers there. Let's go with your favorite non-Brown draft pick.
So I'm just going to rattle a couple off just because there's a lot out there. Obviously, there's a lot of picks. First one that I really loved was Dylan Thieneman to the Bears. I think that's a great fit. I think he is going to be an awesome player. He's going to be your Harrison Smith type player. I think he's going to be a very solid long-term player in the NFL. And I think that's a good fit for that team too, where he came from kind of a northern team at Oregon and was he at Purdue before that? So he knows the area. He knows the weather. I think he's going to fit in really well there. I also said Caden McDonald going to the Texans. I think that's an absolute banger of a pick. You brought it up right away after they picked him, how he is going to be able to immediately contribute because there's so many stars around him already. That defense is stellar, and it just got better with this draft. And, I mean, he had 60 tackles, that defensive tackle for the Buckeyes last year. He is an all-star type player, and I think he's going to have a big impact right away. And my last one is D'Angelo Pons. I just love this guy. I think he is an awesome asset. I think he's a little speedster. I think he can contribute immediately on special teams, but also make a difference on the outside. And with the Jets not having Sauce Gardner anymore, I think they got to replace him, and this could be the future there. So those are my three that I love outside of the Browns.
For me, I love Jacob Rodriguez to the Dolphins. I mean, he's going to be a day one dude. I love the attitude that he brings. Also, I agree with you, Dylan Dieneman, that fit with the Bears. I really liked the pick by the Lions, Blake Miller. I'm still interested to see how they handle this because he's primarily a right tackle, and they have an all-pro right tackle in Penei Sewell. Very curious to see how that plays out, but I still like the fit. I still like the player to that organization. And another guy I love, Keelan Rutledge to the Texans, I think is a great fit in what they want to do. Their offensive line was atrocious. We saw it last year with CJ in the playoffs. It was just disgusting. So love that they got help there. Great run blocker. I just like this player a lot. Let's go kind of quickly here. Who do you think is going to have the best career?
Sonny Styles. I think this guy is made for the NFL. Missed one tackle all last season, like the best linebacker arguably in college football last year. I think Sonny Styles is going to be able to be here for a long time.
See, for me, it's Caleb Downs. I think that's a great fit with Dallas. I can just see him being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Like, I can just picture it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Both of those guys actually are just they're just insane. I'm going to skip ahead here, David, and then we'll come back to some of these. But your offensive rookie of the year, way too early prediction.
So this is lazy. This is maybe a little bit boring, but I'm going with Fernando Mendoza. He is. He's going to start. I mean, I don't think Kirk Tober's getting the nod after what's happened the last couple seasons. I think Fernando Mendoza is going to, if not start right away, start very quickly. And he's living this dream scenario, going from this family from Cuba to now being a Heisman winner, a national championship winner, and a number one overall pick. I think this fairy tale continues for him, and I think he's going to have an excellent season. He's going to be he's not taking them to the playoffs or anything, but I think he's going to produce, and I think he's going to get the nod.
Yeah. For me, I wasn't huge on this player going into the draft, but seeing the reaction, I was like, I'm all in on this guy. And that's Jordan Tyson. I mean, I think it's a good fit in New Orleans. Obviously, you have Chris Olave. Both of those guys have injury concerns. But I liked what Tyler Shuck did last year. I think he's going to have a decent sophomore year. You've got two dudes, and I think that's a really good situation. Now, Carnell Tate also in the conversation, but what do we know with Cam Ward? I think there's a little bit more question there. Not as good of a situation, if you will. And then, I thought about putting one of our guys on there, whether it's Denzel Boston or KC. It's worth the conversation. I think that they are also coming into a pretty good fit that can be plug and play day one contributors. So I went with Jordan Tyson just because I'm really struggling not to say Jalen Tyson. Let him know. About your way too early defensive rookie of the year.
I think we're both staying put here. I went with Styles. I think he's going to have an immediate impact. He's going to he has the potential to be a green dot guy right away in the middle of that defense, and I think he can pull this off, and we'll have back-to-back rookie linebackers winning defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Caleb Downs. I know, same thing, basically the same question asked just a different way, but I can just see it now. I don't know why. I just think it's a really good fit. They are both elite players. They went to a great situation. I would put money on either of them, and probably will, by the way. All right, let's turn it over to the Browns, and then we can come back with a couple of others. Before we do so, real quick, want to tell you guys about our good friends over at Stadium Mustard. Guys, if you don't have Stadium Mustard in your kitchen this season, you are doing it wrong. The iconic brand, the iconic taste, pull up from ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between. Stadium Mustard is a smooth brown mustard rich in both taste and tradition. It is loved by millions, so be sure to head on over to stadiummustard.com to shop now. Also, if you are looking for your official Here We Go Brownies podcast hat, t-shirt, sweatshirt, I actually had a couple of people message me looking for an upgrade. Head on over to We Bleed Ohio Apparel. They can make any custom basketball, baseball, football designs that you would like. They're great people to work with. They can get it out to you quickly. So please be sure to check out our friends over at We Bleed Ohio. All right, let's get into the Browns. Let's just go pick by pick here, talk about the fit, talk about the player, and we're just going to obviously go in order. So for the first pick, the Browns trade back with Kansas City Chiefs. They go back to number 9 overall, where they get their guy Spencer Fano, the tackle out of Utah. So one thing that I would like for all of the listeners to know about Spencer Fano is he is very versatile. If you listen to this show going into the draft, that's one thing that we talked about. He can play anywhere on the offensive line. Now, certainly you hope that he is going to be the left tackle of the future, most important position on the offensive line, and has been a pretty huge question mark for basically since Joe Thomas retired. So you hope that he can come in and fill that need. Now, in terms of Spencer Fano and his versatility, I think with his offensive line coach, George Warhop, he's going to be a day one contributor right away. I love this pick. He was my number 1 tackle coming into this. I'm pumped up about it. When they made the selection, David, I jumped off the couch. I was so excited. Your thoughts on this pick?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all those things and more. He is a reliable, sturdy starter that has the experience under his belt, has the size, and has, like you said, the key thing I think here is versatility. Just with what's happened with this line over the last 3 seasons, you have to have guys who can move around, be flexible, and are willing to do that. And he absolutely is. And you can see it. I mean, you can just see in his reaction with his family, himself, that he's a guy who's got some humility. He seems humble. He seems like ready to just come play. I mean, he looked like what I want to say, genuinely joyful and happy. And obviously anybody picked in the top 10 is going to be, or the first round, or in the NFL draft in general, but he looked legitimately and genuinely happy to be part of the Browns organization. And it's just, he's going to be an immediate day one producer. And I think we're going to be saying his name for a long time in Cleveland.
Yeah. David, just also to highlight, I know we talked about maybe doing this after this segment, but if there are any injury updates or concerns with any of these players, probably now is a good time to go ahead and run through those. We'll just make this an extension of the moment. So if you've got anything on Spencer, go ahead and let it rip.
So this is going to be a theme that you're going to hear from me, and it'll be quick. But ultimately, nothing to report. He has a clean medical profile coming in the draft. No major publicly reported college injuries. So what we know is he played multiple seasons at a high level with consistent snaps, and that's that production. That's that history. That just he's a veteran college player. He's going to translate immediately. And taking it a step further, kind of looking at kind of risk injury, going into the pros. While we have a very strong history of offensive linemen being injured in Cleveland, he still is kind of, I would say, in the lower risk of actually having any sort of, injury moving forward, just because he's already proven he can do it. Like I said, he was a multi-year starter, and he has no injuries. He's proven to be durable. And so just in general, offensive lineman, it's less open field exposure. You're not planning, you're not cutting. And so I think he's going to have a pretty long, durable career, and there's nothing to report for him.
Love that. All right, next up, their second first-round pick 24, Casey Concepcion, the receiver out of Texas A&M. I was pumped up about this one as well. I think this is a great value pick, day one contributor, most likely going to be a starter very early on. A very efficient receiver as well. 79% of his catches went for first down, so he's got pretty elite efficiency. Has some return ability as well. You can use him in kind of a multitude of ways. I don't really have any concerns about him just being able to do one thing. Of course, some concerns with him and his drops. I think that's a little bit overblown, truthfully. We'll do a deeper dive, as we get into mini camps and everything like that, and really talk about who these players were. But I think the drop situation was a little bit overblown. I'm really excited about this. I really like this player. At first, going into the draft, I think I had Denzel Boston ahead of him. And I know, David, you really weren't in on Casey, but now having learned more, I like the guy. I think it's a great fit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am already, in a way, eating crow, and I hope I continue to, because, go back and watch last week. I openly said, this is not for me. I'm not interested in this. And that's on me. I did not do a good enough job kind of just looking into it, researching it, and seeing what he brings to the table. I mean, we watched a little bit more of his combine film just afterwards, after we knew the draft, after he was picked, and just looking at what he can do and what he can produce. The big thing for him is, we talked about Deshaun possibly being the starter, but I mean, if he's not, and if it's Shedeur, or even if it is Deshaun, someone we know has a little bit of rust in this, and very confident, someone like him it can be a great confidence boost for a quarterback, because he's shifty, he can get open in the short yardage area and then turn a 5-yard pass into a 20-yard gain. And so I think that's really important for young quarterbacks and their confidence to be able to have an outlet like him, and not necessarily be, someone that they're throwing, 30-yard, corner routes to, and that's okay. Because at the end of the day, like, production's production. And if you can take the ball at 5 yards and get 15 and get a first down, like, regularly, that's awesome. And he's going to contribute immediately. And then, like I said, I'm much more into it now than I was beforehand, and I'm happy for it. I really like it, and I agree with you. I think the drops thing, it's kind of been shown to be a little overblown and maybe not as big of a deal as we think. And then similarly, no significant injury history, and I mean, he was an SEC player, really heavy workload at A&M, and never had any significant time off or any major injury. So, like I said, it's going to be a theme across the board here. But these guys come in healthy, and this is what I was getting at with Monken's kind of approach to drafting. It seems like he's more about, maybe not taking I don't think he wants to take big risks on guys who had injuries, maybe, or maybe a little bit more injury prone. Now, that could just be, it's our first draft with him. Maybe that's just coincidence. But at the end of the day, like, all of these picks are healthy, durable, stable guys. And it's more about kind of creating a core foundation that's going to produce and participate week in and week out, rather than maybe taking someone who has a higher ceiling but a higher risk for injury. So I like that. I think that's a good approach to drafting. And overall, for him, kind of looking forward, he is a slot receiver. These guys tend to have soft tissue injuries. You think of people like, you think of JSN specifically, but even Emeka Ibuka or other guys who might have like hamstring things. So just something to be aware of. He's on the higher risk side of injuries, just from a player position in general. But he's proven to be durable, and hopefully it stays that way in his professional career.
All right, next up, round 2, pick 39. I was surprised that this guy fell into the second round, but he did. Denzel Boston, the receiver out of Washington. If you listen to the show, you know that I was all in, but we both were. We were all in on this guy. He's a big-bodied guy. He's 6'3", 212, ex-receiver. He's awesome at contested catch. He actually had 26 contested catches since 2024. I love that they double dipped here. I really think that these two guys do different things, and that's what this team needs. How many times on this podcast have I said the Browns receiver room is so damn redundant? I hate it. So they actually changed it. They did go out. They got a big bodied guy, huge red zone target. He's very good at the little things. He's able to come back to the quarterback. Great in scramble drills. He's just an athletic guy. Love his ball skills, contested catches. Really haven't had anybody like that since DPJ, and he wasn't even that great at that. So I'm excited about it. David, your thoughts on this guy?
Love it. I love it. And I was so pumped. I remember when this pick was made, we looked at each other and our jaws were on the floor. Just because we weren't expecting it. We thought, they got their guy in KC and they're going to move on. And they said, no, bet we're doubling down on wide receiver, and we're going to get someone a completely different play style. But, we are building this wide receiver room. And you said it. We were both all in on this guy, and I absolutely love it. He's going to be, I think, more of a red zone target. He's a contested catch guy, like you said. Over the last 2 seasons, he had 20 touchdowns, which is pretty excellent. And overall, in terms of injury risk and in his history, again, no major injuries to report. Durable, stable receiver. And he's going to be probably a little bit less injury prone than someone like Casey Concepcion, just because of the style of play and where he's lining up. Again, he's more of an outside receiver, less kind of collision zones in the middle, over the middle with linebackers and safeties. And so, wouldn't be surprised if he has less injuries over his career than someone like Casey Concepcion. And he's a little bit bigger too, so he's just a little bit more durable. But either way, awesome pick. Really excited about this, and just one of those surprises that we're really happy to see.
I don't know if you heard that, but that's thunder. So if it starts with this wicked thunderstorm, if we lose power, nice talking to you guys. We'll see you next week.
Radar looks crazy, so we'll see.
Not great. So we'll try to get through these as quickly as we can. All right, next pick. Browns trade up for this player. I think this is my favorite pick for the Cleveland Browns. Round 2, pick 58, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, the safety out of Toledo. I love this. I love the fit. We know what the Browns want to do defensively. We know that they're going to go 3 safety, the big nickel look. That is primarily what they're going to want to do. They needed help at safety. They haven't drafted a safety since Grant Delpit, Sheldrick Redwine previously. They have not really invested in this position. They keep the guy in Ohio. I really like it. He's a versatile, kind of a hybrid guy. He can do a lot of different things. Just to kind of read through what Todd McShay had him as on his big board, he was number 3 safety in this class. So Falls, Browns go up and get him. This might be my favorite pick for the Cleveland Browns, David.
Yeah, awesome, excellent pick. He is a Toledo Rocket from the Glass City. I am an Oak Harbor Rocket. I love it. I spent 5 full years in Toledo, and the Toledo Rockets are an awesome MAC team, and it's a ton of fun. They always have these exciting players coming out like this, and so someone like this who's going to potentially have playing time right away is just so exciting. And like you said, he's an aggressive player. He's a high turnover type player, but also high snap count. I mean, again, just like these other players, no significant injury history report, and he was a reliable, durable player that played throughout his career in college. And so, just across the board, a awesome pick. Someone that, again, we said similarly, jaws were on the floor because he was available, he was there, and they got him. And I know you mentioned it a little bit, but there's some people who, with all four of these players, at some point mocked them in the first round. And the Browns have all four of them and got two of them in the second round. I think that's incredible and a ton of value and really, really strategic picking here. And so I love it. I agree. I think he's going to be a fan favorite for a long time in Cleveland. And I'm excited to see what he can do for this team.
Listen, I don't know if it was getting rid of Paul DePodesta, Kevin Stefanski. I don't know, but whatever happened in the Browns front office in making these selections, I'm all in on it. I think that they just absolutely crushed for that reason that you just mentioned. Another trade up, they go get Austin Barber, the tackle out of Florida, in the third round at pick 86. I didn't see this one coming. This was kind of surprising to me. I did not expect them to do this. At the time, you had guys on the board like Caitlin Tiernan, Jennings Dunker. I've talked about him, but they trade up. They go get Austin Barber, who's had a ton of production and snap count. So, and I think that this was probably necessary, right? They had to heavily invest in this offensive line. So with your first 4-5 picks, you go 2 tackles, 2 receivers. I absolutely love that. You have to double dip here. He's a high-end guy. He's going to have production right away, I would imagine. Just to kind of read you a couple of things, what Todd has to say about him. His broad jump is borderline outstanding for an offensive tackle, and he flashes explosive finishing power. He plays with an edge. He can bury defenders in space. He's just had a ton of production. He started 33 games at left tackle over the past 3 seasons. He's started 5 games at right tackle in 2022. So he's got a little bit of versatility if needed. He can possibly be a swing guy. Guys, I think that these 2 guys, Infano and Barber, they're gonna contribute right away, David.
Yep. Totally agree. Same story here. No significant injury history, never had surgery, reliable, ready to go, durable starter. I'm pretty sure I heard at one point Mensch saying that he had him as the second best run blocker in the draft in terms of tackles. And so just an awesome upside guy here and another surprise. But again, this is where they doubled down. In the next pick, you'll see triple down on offensive line, and I'm here for it.
So yes, and just to get into the next pick, this was another surprise for me. That's Parker Brailsford, the center out of Alabama, in the 5th round, pick 146. Started, 40 career starts at center, 42 career starts in total, 3-time all-conference. I think that this is more of a competition pick, more of a depth pick than a day one contributor. I think he'll probably be in the conversation with Luke Whippler at center. That would be my guess. Of course, maybe he does have some versatility. Maybe he can kick inside a little bit. I don't exactly know what that's going to look like, but I would imagine this is more of a depth pick than anything. I know that some guys weren't as high on him as others. If I had to guess, they were probably going to go Connor Lew before the Bengals grabbed him. He went a couple of picks ahead. So, and there was Sam Hecht out of Kansas State also that went just before him. So I can understand why the Browns made this selection. They needed this player, or they needed this position. They probably had some other guys ahead of him, but I think that he could see some time.
Yeah, and same story. You're gonna get sick of me saying this, but no major injury history, no surgeries. This guy played 2,400 plus.
I'm not going to get sick of you saying that, by the way.
that's true. I think as Browns fans, we can all say that. But yeah, 2,400 plus snaps in college, durable, reliable, and like you said, he's gonna allow for depth and allow for movement and more shuffling of the offensive line, and that versatility is so important for an offensive line in any organization, but especially for the Browns. And so being able to move Jenkins back to guard if we need to, where he's probably a better suited, is just awesome. And so just another great pick, honestly. I can't believe I keep saying this 5 picks in.
It's all right. All right, next up, 5th round pick, 149. They go Justin Jefferson. No, not that Justin Jefferson. Obviously, the Justin Jefferson linebacker out of Alabama. Just quick thing on this. I was talking to ChatGPT earlier because, just doing some show. And I said, hey, can you give me some information on Browns Justin Jefferson? And she basically called me an idiot. She's like, he's actually a receiver for the Vikings. I said, no, you're an idiot. He's a linebacker for the Browns. There can be more than one Justin Jefferson, by the way. But with him, I was a little surprised that they went linebacker here. I was maybe expecting a corner because there were some good corners available. But they go linebacker. He is a little bit undersized. I think he does fit the scheme and what the Browns want to do defensively. I like it. I like the depth. You guys have heard me say so many times we need more depth with the linebackers. We absolutely need it. And with Tarver, he gets the most out of these guys. I think he's probably more of a developmental, linebacker, probably going to be a special teams guy. But I like it. I think he's had good enough production to be a contributor on this team.
Yep. Completely agree. I mean, surprised as well. Maybe not the position that I wanted to see them get depth at right now, just based on some other needs. But right now, I'm going to put my trust in them, give them the benefit of the doubt because they saw what was available on the board and they saw what may be available for trades or free agency before the season starts. And so, and that's back-to-back SEC Alabama picks. And while maybe Saban still isn't there, his legacy still lives on. And like Alabama's still Alabama to some degree. And so you have to trust and believe in their ability to produce NFL guys. He doesn't have the same, I want to say, experience as these other guys we talked about in terms of snap counts, but still some durability in the sense that he's had no major injuries to report. So excited to see what he can do. And I think, like you said, special teams will be a big role for him for the first couple of years.
Next up on the list is Joe Royer in the 5th round, pick 170, the tight end out of Cincinnati. I was very excited to see them go tight end here, David. I know that this was an area of need with David Njoku, more likely than not going to be with the team. So it's basically Harold Fannin and then. So they go out, they get Joe Royer. Some cool things about him, 0 drops in 2025. Love that. 9 yards after the catch per reception, 3rd among FBS tight ends, by the way. So I still think that they probably – I kind of would have liked to see them maybe go a little earlier to really get a blocking tight end. I think that's really what they needed. But I still like the pick. He's a big guy. We know that the Browns are really going to want to go heavy personnel mostly, offensively in most packages. So it makes sense. I like it. Obviously, he played at Ohio State, so there's that connection and goes to Cincinnati. Keep the kid in Ohio, David.
Yeah, I like it too. I mean, I agree. He's not necessarily like your true inline blocking tight end. And so there's still a need there, especially with, the 7th rounder. Maybe he'll surprise us, but we'll get to that. But his circumstances were kind of tough going from Ohio State to Cincinnati. He had his mom tragically passed away, and it was just a tight end room that was very full and crowded. And so I think different circumstances, this guy might have been a starter at Ohio State for 2 seasons. But regardless, he went to Cincinnati, started there for 2 years. Again, very durable, no significant injury history. And like you said, I think he's going to fit the scheme fairly well. We know that Monken likes to go 12 personnel frequently. And, with a wide zone run, you want some tight ends that can get around the edge and get some blocking downfield, get to second level if they need to. So between him especially, but Fannin too, like having these athletic tight ends is going to be very conducive to the offense they want to run. So I like it. I think he's someone that can play a role for sure. And I'm excited to see, like you said, an Ohio guy stay in Ohio.
Yeah. All right. Next up, an exciting pick, maybe an unexpected pick, but they go in round 6. They grab Taylor Green, the quarterback out of Arkansas, at pick 182. He's an absolute freak. Let me just highlight this comment from our friend Aaron. He's from Arkansas, but Taylor Green, dude's a freak athlete, but his decision-making is a little, suspect. And I think that's a fair assessment of Taylor Green. He is a huge guy. He's 6'5", 227. He's incredibly athletic. If you watched this show a couple of weeks ago, Dustin suggested drafting him and moving him to wide receiver, which I don't like. I still don't like. And if you ask Taylor Green, he's been very vocal. He is a quarterback. He wants to be a quarterback. But I'm very glad to have an athletic freak on this team. I love taking a shot here, just like I liked last year taking a shot on Shedeur Sanders. Why not, right? At this point, why not take a high upside guy? You never know what you're going to get. It's a very crowded quarterback room, obviously, as you all know. But I think he's a developmental guy. He can come in on, maybe 4th and 2, 3rd and 2, and get you those yards, kind of be in some of those short packages. I don't know really where I see him in terms of like a contributor long-term on this team, but I think it's possible, that you can have, there's something here, right, David? I think that there could be. Huge arm, totally. Huge guy. But yeah, the decision-making, that's the knock on him.
Yep. Take this with a grain of salt, if you will. But when you think Taylor Green, think I think Justin Fields, and I know that maybe isn't the best thing in terms of like NFL career to date, but I'm talking more size, talent profile, and just like what he brings to the table. And Justin Fields is an amazing college quarterback, and we still have high hopes for him in the NFL, but he's got the same kind of build and same kind of like play style, and like we said, decision making may be the issue, but he's durable. He played 46 games across his college career with no major injuries, no surgeries, and that's saying something for a quarterback of his stature as well as play style, because he's getting banged up out there. He's mobile. He takes big hits, but I think his size really gives him the benefit there because he hasn't had a lot of injuries. So, I think there's going to be some Taylor Green packages, if you will. Guy that comes in, maybe does some special things just to get some short yardage stuff, and who knows, like he may be more of a gadget player too, where he comes in and lines up at tight end or wide receiver and does some crazy things, kind of a la Taysom Hill. So I'm excited about it. I think it's a great risky pick, like you said.
We know that Todd Monken likes to do that. Last year, I mean, watch him with Mark Andrews and taking that direct snap. Maybe it's something like that. And we know the kind of quarterback that Todd Monken likes. It's a very mobile quarterback with a big arm.
Hey, I got something for you. You know how Philly's got the tush push? We're gonna bring Taylor Green in. It's gonna be the Brown down.
Jeez, David. All right. Well, that's the end of the show. Brown down. Good God. All right. Let's finish strong with their 7th round pick. That is Carson Ryan, the tight end out of BYU. I was surprised that they went 2 tight ends here, truthfully. But, just like their offensive packages, they're going to go heavy personnel. They went heavy personnel in this year's draft. Carson Ryan, the tight end out of BYU, I think he's going to really be in competition for that blocking tight end that we discussed earlier. Totally different player than Joe Royer even, or obviously than Harold Fannin Jr. 45 catches, 620 yards, 3 touchdowns last year, 26 career starts from UCLA, Utah, and BYU. Big guy, 6'3", 225. I mean, he's a blocking tight end, which is exactly what this team needs. I think it's a good fit, and I think it's going to be a competition between him and Joe Royer.
Yeah, I was surprised too. We may get into it later or the next show. I was hoping for a cornerback or just kind of a different direction here, but at the end of the day, we know that this was a position of need, and like you said, they just want to create some competition in that room. And so he may be that guy when it comes to 12 personnel that's more, there for blocking and maybe leaking out for a little seam pass or something. So I'm not mad about it. I was surprised about it, but overall, I think it's going to be, we'll see what he does. I think he could be a good fit potentially.
My only knock on this draft is that they didn't get a corner, especially because, as we know now, Martin Emerson Jr. not returning to the team. He's going to New Orleans. I would have liked to see them get a corner. So we only have a few moments left, but there's a couple of things that I absolutely want to do, David. So if we have to go a little over, then I think we just go a little over because there's a couple of segments I just have to get to. Before, I want to tell you about our friends over at City Barbecue, guys. If you are wondering what you should have for lunch, dinner, it's City Barbecue. They have award-winning sauces, sides, meats. They do it right. And the cool thing with City Barbecue is they can also cater your event. So if you have something coming up, whether that's a wedding shower, corporate event, whatever it is, City Barbecue, they are really the best in the business. And listen, I like good food. Listen to me. I like good food. So go check them out over at City Barbecue. So let's run through kind of rapid fire superlatives for this Browns team. And then we're going to have a little Buckeye segment. David, you and I, we're big Buckeye dudes, we like the Ohio State Buckeye. So I want to recap what they did in the draft before we wrap up. So before we do that, let's get into some Browns superlatives. Tell me, who was your favorite Browns draft pick?
I'm going Denzel Boston. Second wide receiver taken off the board, dropped all the way to 30. Was it 39? Regardless, awesome. Love that. I think he has potential to have an immediate impact, be that third wide receiver in the lineup. Potentially, it's Denzel for me. Yeah,
for me, it's EMW, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. I am over the moon happy with this selection. 1, it's an area of need. 2, it's an Ohio guy. But 3, well, a Toledo guy, rather. I don't know if he's born and raised, but, has been in Ohio for the past 4 years. But the player and the fit with this team, we know what they want to do defensively. We know what Rutenberg wants to do. He wants to have, sometimes 3 safeties on the field. I love this. I think this works. He can be your oh my God, your nickel. I just really like this. I think this is such a good fit. I love the player. I think he's going to have a great career as a Cleveland Brown. Give me a pick that you think is going to have an immediate impact on this team.
So I went with Casey Concepcion. And like I said, I'm hoping I'm eating crow all season long. But just the more I hear about it, the more I read about it, I think he has all the potential to be an immediate kind of slot receiver opposite Jerry Jeudy or Denzel, and also contribute on special teams if he's going to be in the return game. So from multiple aspects, I think he can contribute immediately. And rookies can play, and rookies can do a lot of special things. And I think he's one of those guys that has the potential to do that and be a contributor for the entire season.
Yeah, for me, it's Spencer Fano. As I mentioned, he's incredibly versatile on the offensive line. Of course, we hope and wish that he's going to be our starting left tackle for the foreseeable future. But if he's our left guard, because that's the position he needs to play, then I'm fine with that too. He can do a lot of things. I think that our offensive line was so atrocious last year. This is such a huge upgrade that he can come in and be a day one contributor. I think he creates probably the most immediate impact for this team. Give me your most surprising Browns draft pick.
Similar to my favorite one, it's Denzel Boston. I was very surprised to see that. One, that he fell that far. Two, that they took a second wide receiver back to back. But I love it. Runner-up for me would be Taylor Green. But we know that this team likes to take risks on late round quarterbacks, so it's not super surprising. But I'm going to stick with Denzel on this one. So
for me, it wasn't necessarily the player that they selected in Justin Jefferson. It's just I'm surprised that they went linebacker here. That's what I'm surprised about. I just, knowing what we know now, that we need a corner, I'm surprised they didn't do that, because there were some guys that were available that I was all in on. Chandler Rivers being one of them. He goes to Baltimore. Barf, hate that. That's just going to work. I was just surprised that they didn't do that. So it's not necessarily that I think Justin Jefferson was some huge surprise. I was just surprised ultimately that they didn't go with a cornerback. And then to round this one out, who do you think is going to have the best career as a Cleveland Brown?
Kind of going with the easy, lazy pick here. I think it's gonna be Fano. I think he's got the proven track record. He's got the durability for it, and he's in the right position to play for as long as he wants to.
Yeah, me too. I agree. I think that's kind of, in my opinion, the obvious one. As long as he can remain healthy, I think that he's a long-term contributor for this team. So before we turn it over to our Buckeye segment, just want to give a shout out to our friends over at Primetime Sports. Really excited to walk you through. They've got some big-time names coming in the weekend of May 1st, which is this weekend. Am I right? So a couple of names I want to throw at you: Antoine Walker, Sean Kemp, Joe Smith, Dennis Rodman, Gary Payton, Gerald Wilkins, Rocket Ismail, Doc Gooden. We also have Julio Franco. I mean, just some guys. If you want to go check it out, they do it right. Some great signings. You can meet these guys, get your stuff signed. And also, they have some incredible mystery boxes. So if you have, we had the Ohio State mystery box. We got a Will Howard signed jerseys. What else? Caleb Downs. Was Caleb Downs? Carnell Tate signed picture. We got
Carnell Tate picture.
Carnell Tate. So
Jack Sawyer mini helmet.
Yep. They also have some Browns hot boxes that they give away. So check them out over at Primetime Sports and Framing. They're really cool. They're in Belden Village Mall, Great Northern Mall. They're awesome. Some great events. Speaking of those Buckeyes, let's run through it. They had a historic draft class. David, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah. So we expected this to be the case, and it did not disappoint. Overall, 11 picks taken in the draft this year. 4 in the top 12, 3 in the top 10. And just kind of run through it. Carnell Tate at 4 to the Giants. Arvell Reese at 5 to the – Carnell Tate at 4 to the Titans. Arvell Reese at 5 to the Giants. Sonny Styles at 7 to the Commanders. So Ohio State has now become the first team ever to have 3 players taken in the same top 10 of a draft more than once. So this is now the second time it's happened. I think last time was 2015 or 2016. But either way, 4, 5, and 7, and then you got Caleb Downs just outside the top 10 at 11. That's a pretty outstanding first round. Cade McDonald kind of snuck into the early second round at 36 to the Texans. Max Clare, 61 to the Rams. Davison Igbinosun, 62 to the Bills. Will Kazmarek, 87 to the Dolphins. Lorenzo Styles Jr., 172 to the Saints. Caden Curry, 214 to the Colts. That's one I wish the Browns would have tried to snag. And then the big surprise, Ethan Onianwa at 231 to the Falcons. Kevin, what are you doing? This guy was on a starter last year and he got drafted. So I think that just speaks to the Ohio State pedigree and what you get in an Ohio State player. But like I said, that's 11 players taken in the draft this season. They had the most by 2 of any college. One of the really, really cool things that I love, and I'm going to talk about for as long as I can, is that now every single starter from that 2024 national championship winning defense has been drafted to the NFL. Not only that, but most of the second players have as well. Run that list real quick. Jack Sawyer, Ty Hamilton, Tyleik Williams, JT Tuimola, Sonny Styles, Cody Simon, Denzel Burke, Lathan Ransom, Caleb Downs, Davis Igbenosum, Jordan Hancock, Caden Curry, Caden McDonald, Arvell Reese, and Lorenzo Styles Jr. Amazing production, amazing talent preparation. And I guess one other thing I'll say is the Ohio State Buckeyes overall in their history have had 99 players drafted in the first round. 99. We were 1 away from getting 100 with Caden McDonald this year. But you know what, Allie? Who is going to be number 100 next year? Who's it going to be?
It's Jeremiah, obviously.
It's J.J. Smith. It's happening. And it is just perfect. I am so excited about this.
I cannot wait. And just like that, we are looking ahead to the 2027 NFL draft. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Just to round things out before we wrap up, just because you mentioned this, you mentioned a player. I can't remember who it was that you mentioned, but you said that you were hoping that the Browns could get them, but didn't. Was there anybody? Oh, yeah, exactly. Is there anybody else that you had that you were kind of, maybe past the first round? You're like, man, if the Browns can get this guy, like I've done a lot of homework on this person. I really like this player. Just somebody that you were hoping the Browns could get, but they didn't.
Yeah. So I really like Zion Young at edge. I thought coming from Missouri, SEC player, that he was going to be able to contribute and could be a good piece on the opposite side of Miles. He ended up going to Baltimore. So like we said, that's going to work out. Otherwise, the 2 that I really was kind of interested in were D'Angelo Pons, who I talked about earlier, who went to the Jets, and then Keontae Scott going to Tampa Bay. We have some familiarity with Keontae Scott playing at Miami against Ohio State in the playoffs. Had a pick 6 against them. He's a what do you want to say, like a ball hawk, a ball seeker, and I enjoyed the idea of him playing at cornerback and one of those positions that we felt we needed some depth at. So for me, it was D'Angelo Pons and Keontae Scott. Really, would have loved to see them get him, but again, we're very happy with this draft anyway.
Yes, I know. I'm not complaining. Just anybody that maybe you had like a draft crush on, if you will. Yep. For me, as you all know, is Jenny Stucker. I really liked him. But, now that he's a Pittsburgh Steeler, I obviously hate him. And I went back through and was, kind of reading up on him a little bit, watching some of his film. It's probably okay that it didn't happen, truthfully. I think that they did better in Austin Barber for what the Browns want to do. Another guy is Chandler Rivers. He goes to Baltimore. I really wanted him. I thought he was awesome. I forget what round he went in, but of course he goes to Baltimore, and that's just going to work. And another guy that I just really liked, it really wasn't a need because the Browns doubled up on receiver, but that's Ted Hurst out of Georgia State. I really like this player. He goes to Tampa. I think he's going to have a pretty decent shot at contributing early. But I had so much fun. I had so much fun doing this. I love the draft. This is my favorite. And I'm so excited to kind of unpack all of these players. I know we just kind of did a surface level discussion on all of them because, we only have so much time. But as we go through the off season and there's not a ton to talk about, really doing a positional, just deep dive on each position. And especially with these draft picks to see exactly how we think they can contribute, what they bring to the team, strengths, weaknesses, go through their scouting reports, show some film. I want to do all of it. So be sure to tune in. We obviously are here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. But before we wrap, just want to let you know at the midpoint of the first quarter, the Cavs are down 22-17. 22-15, excuse me, against the Raptors. I don't know. It could be my phone. That could just be wrong. But
it's ESPN.
Back to 17. I don't know what's going on. But need to get this one. Need to get this one if they want to have a shot. You get pretty uncomfortable with the last 2 games in Toronto. Just absolutely embarrassing the Cavs. So hopefully they can bounce back, get hot. You need Donovan Mitchell to just kind of get things done tonight. James Harden can't have as many turnovers. But David, you and I, we are always just pounding the table. You got to get the most out of your big guys. Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, they've got to score offensively. Jarrett had a great defensive performance the last game. He had like 13 rebounds, 2 points. Like that just doesn't work. We need offense. contribution from these big guys.
Yeah, not really loving the rotations that have been coming out there from Kenny the last couple of games. We saw after the James Harden trade that he like unlocked something in Jared Allen, and we just need to get back to that. He has the amazing vision to make these crazy passes, and Jared's ready for him. And so I think they need to get back to that. They need to get back to their game, and then Jared and Evan just need to be aggressive and slam that thing. I mean, they were like the two leading slam dunk artists in the NBA this year. Like, go do that. Like, get this crowd pumped up and make some action.
I'm telling you, being a Cleveland fan, as
That's
you
it.
all know,
That's it. That's
yes,
the
we are.
line.
Yep, so true, and they have been for years, George, and it's driving me absolutely insane. They need a bully. They need to find a bully, and it irks me to my absolute core. But as you all know, if you're watching the show, you know that it is very troubling sometimes to be a Cleveland sports fan, and even our better teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers somehow find a way to just stress us out. So that's what we're going to do. Let's go watch the Cavs. We appreciate you all for joining. Let them know. But as always, stay safe, stay healthy. And as always, Browns fans, go Browns.
Go Browns.